Move over, Towering Sky Summoner. Our Drake Commander has arrived. It's Alandra Sky Dreamer from Jumpstart 2022. Today we're going to learn to take to the skies with Alandra Sky Dreamer. Let's get into it. Alandra Sky Dreamer is a legendary merfolk wizard, and whenever you draw your second card each turn, you get to create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. And whenever you draw your fifth card each turn, Alandra Sky Dreamer and Drakes we control get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in our hand. So Alandra gives us some good ideas, and I see two main strategies appearing: drawing cards and smashing face. We're going to start with our first strategy, drawing cards. But we need to focus on two types of card draw for this deck: steady card draw to make Drakes and explosive card draw to pump them. By steady card draw, I mean cards that are going to allow us to make a Drake every turn, not just on our own. I'm thinking cards like Ristic Study, something that's going to allow us to draw cards on everybody's turn when they just play spells. In a similar vein, I'll include Mystic Remora. This enchantment's going to allow us to draw a card when an opponent casts a non-creature spell, because there's no way they're going to be able to pay the 4. If you want to encourage goodwill and good times in your play group, include these group hug style cards, Howling Mind and Anvil of Bolgarden. They're going to guarantee that we get a Drake on every one of our turns. I'm also going to include instant speed cantrips under this style, just because they allow us to guarantee our 2 cards drawn during each opponent's turn to keep making those Drake tokens. Now we're on to the explosive card draw. I'm talking about cards that are going to allow us to draw a ton of cards so we can get that Drake token army pumped to the max. I really debated where to add Teferi's Puzzle Box in this list, but I think explosive counts because it will allow us to draw a bunch of cards to pump our Drake army and get in for the win. The only problem I see with Teferi's Puzzle Box is that it is telegraphed. That's why I included some instant speed mass card draw spells so we can do this during combat and pump the Drakes up when the opponent's not expecting it. Guess what? We need more explosive instant speed card draw. That's why I'm including these two, Blue Sun Zenith and Commander's Insight, to go with Stroke of Genius and Pull from Tomorrow. If y'all haven't noticed yet, I typically include a pet card in every one of my deck techs, especially from the Onslaught block. That's why I've got Rush of Knowledge in here. It's going to allow us to draw cards equal to the highest converted mana cost among permanents we control. Since we drew a card at the start of our turn and Alandra's 4 CMC, that means that the Drakes will get pumped. Please use any card draw spell that you love. If you own an Alpha Brain Geyser, put it in. If you enjoy attacking to draw cards, put in Biden of Thassa. The world is your oyster, and you are the pearl. Now we are on to our second strategy, smashing face. So there's going to be 2 parts to that: assemble the army and then power them up for the win. Now it's time to assemble our horde of Drakes. That's why I'm going to throw Towrand in this deck. I know I hated on him in the beginning, but we are going to be casting a ton of instants and sorceries in this deck, increasing the number of Drakes we add to the battlefield. Towrand may not be our commander anymore, but there's still a place for him as a lieutenant. Since we are going to be casting a ton of instants and sorceries, we might as well have another payoff. That's why Murmuring Mystic is in this deck. Instead of Drakes, we're going to get 1/1 Bird Illusions, but in my opinion, they are honorary Drakes for this deck. Now we are diving deeper into this instant and sorcery token creation train with Shark Typhoon. It's going to allow us to create flying shark tokens every time we cast a non-creature spell. Therefore, our token army grows. Now we might as well add some normal Drakes to the mix. That's why I'm including Peregrine Drake. I know it's a combo piece, but I'm not really going the combo route. This is just good value for us. Loyal Drake is another nice addition to our army. It's going to allow us to draw a card at the beginning of our combat if we control our commander to help fuel our Drake and card draw strategy. We've got 2 more of our flying beaters in the form of Muse Drake and Screeching Drake. When they come in, they're both going to allow us to draw a card, but Screeching Drake makes us discard, so it's going to help create even more Drakes when these enter. Now I found the best piece of value for our deck. That's Whirlpool Drake. When it ETBs, we're going to basically wheel, and then when it dies, we wheel again. So that means we're making a ton of Drakes and pumping them 2 times. Alandra is a big threat, and she'll definitely get removed. That's why we need to back it up with similar strategies to pump our army and also make just big Drakes. For big Drakes, we have ones like Thunder Drake that will consistently grow. Windstorm Drake is a good option just to increase the power of our flying army. Favorable Winds and Sprite Noble are both going to pump up our flying Drake army as well. That way we can still get in for some massive damage. Gravitational Shift is an interesting one. It's going to increase our Drake's power by 2 and weaken all of our opponent's creatures. We can't have a busted tribal deck without Coat of Arms. It's going to increase the power of our Drakes by each other Drake on the battlefield. But we need to watch out. If we're in another tribal matchup, it will also increase the power of those other tribes your opponents are playing. Adaptive Automaton and Grand Architect are going to pump our Drakes by +1/+1. Also with Grand Architect, we can tap our Drakes to add mana to play artifact spells. Speaking of artifacts, we have Gauntlet of Power and Cage Sun. They're both very similar. They're going to allow us to pump our blue creatures by +1/+1 and make our lands tap for double mana. Mana doubling is always powerful, but increasing the power of our army is even more delicious. We covered our two main strategies with Alandra. However, we need to back it up, and we have some drakes that will help with that strategy. By backing it up, I mean having interaction to protect our board and stop your opponents from doing things. We've got two Spiketail drakes that we can sacrifice to counter some spells to keep our board safe and stop our opponents from winning. Saroyan Drake is my favorite drake in the deck. It's going to have protection from red, so it can't get bolted, but you can sacrifice it to counter a spell that targets you, so they can't have some big splashy effect to get you out of the game. However, we need much more interaction than those three drakes provide, so run whatever counter magic you love, what other interactive effects that you like to play, and even blue removal that will take care of your opponent's threats. Hopefully you take advantage of the few strategies I outlined for Alandra and back that up with some great interaction. That's all I have for you today, so take to the skies with Alandra Sky Dreamer and be ready to win a few games at your LGS or in your playgroup. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss out on my latest.